spent way more time than I'm used to. A lot of the solo projects I've done, I would wrap them up in 3 to 6 months, and because I lose focus and momentum and interest, and then I want to move on to the next thing. This project was 1.5 years, so we went through a lot of ups and downs of when is this thing ever going to be finished. We finally finished it.
I think these songs had a chance to develop. I think this EP is more developed than the first one because we had that time. It took us, I think it was like 1 year and 9 months or something between that one and actually recording this one. And I'm all about developing things, and so like Tony and I we kind of had a like little ribbing riff for the last year because he's ready to go back in the studio right after the first EP, and I was kind of like, no, we need to wait. I need some time to refresh and like recharge my batteries. And then there was this whole push to like get us out and play live, and then there were some issues with our previous live drummer, because I actually did the drums on the first record, and our previous live drummer. He had some personal things that were happening that just like made it very difficult to proceed. So we kind of retooled. We worked on writing for a couple of months while we waited for him to come back, and then we ended up deciding that these songs needed a different approach on drums. And so we went with somebody that we felt could deliver a more, I guess, explosive approach. We were looking for kind of the more. I've been telling Tony this whole time, we were looking for an arena rock thing, like a bigger, like a gigantic sound. It wasn't about technicality. And of course, obviously, there's stuff on here is Odd Time and slightly more technical than normal, but it wasn't about technicality. It was about making sure these songs had the appropriate emotional response from the drum kit. And I think we found that with Tito. So it worked out.
I think it's progressive hard rock. That's how I would categorize it. If I could be so bold, say in the vein of like Rush, or it definitely has a 80s heavy metal feel, which was my favorite music that I grew up with. But then I think with the vocals and a lot of the lyrics, it's got an alternative twist to it. So I don't know, can we say progressive, alternative, hard rock? Maybe that's too much, but I think that's what Destiny Unraveled is.
It's a vision thing, and it's about, meshing those together and speaking in unison and stepping forward with something that other people aren't doing. And you can see that in our influences. Like, we're not well versed in what's popular right now. The kind of music that Destiny Unraveled makes is somewhat esoteric in some ways, but it's also very forward-thinking and different. We're more or less just trying to like find a path of deviation that also makes sense with our musical sensibilities. And I think that speaks to like why these both of our EPs sound unique, and they're very different pieces than what other people that we know locally are doing right now. My first recording experience was with Joanne at Third Fire, and it's a very collaborative experience. It's very tight, so it's a small room. It's very well built around the idea of making things quickly, and so it allows you to get an idea out fast.
It took almost a year to do. You can hear it. This is the time that we put in, the time that you put in rehearsing and getting the lyrics and getting the right arrangement. It paid off, and you can see it. It's amazing how big the difference is. It's a big, massive change. I think we went into 2 or 3 levels high.
I know people have actually heard Liquid Luck like 2 years ago on a live stream. And we have been canning those songs and getting them ready for doing a real good, run through of another project. And so all these songs had a really long time to percolate.
A lot of these songs are based on tragedy. Echoes of Shadows is a really good title for what we're, confronting, such as Titanic and, the Waco disaster, and dealing with other things like bizarre dreams, allergic reactions, fun gambling. You know, there's a lot of good stuff on here.
We're singing about stuff like history, and the music is oriented around these concepts. I think that we're all sort of familiar with. This Echoes of Shadows EP specifically, I see this underpinning of sort of American culture, specifically with some of the songs that we have a song called Mothman, which is a uniquely American concept. This idea of the Mothman, but of course the song is not about the Mothman, but it's a reference to the Mothman. So it's like a little bit of juxtaposition there. But there's also Liquid Luck, the gambling thing. Obviously, people gamble in other countries, but it seems like a uniquely American concept to me. When I hear that song, I think about, well, Las Vegas, that rich tradition that's attached to that. And I think about, the other two obvious ones are the Titanic, which was bound for the United States, and then there's Lord David, which is a uniquely American figure.
Yeah, well, my favorite so far is Ghost Faces. Probably the simple one over the bunch of songs, and the reason I like is because there's a really raw energy to it that I love about it. Have a little like I don't know, hard, punky. It's the sound that's in your face, and I really, really like that.
Ghost Faces. That riff was not supposed to be that way. We ended up doing some stuff that's pretty unorthodox, and if you take it and you take it apart and look at it, you realize you never see those two chords right next to each other like that, and how that works. And that song is got a lot of that stuff going on, and it's just because it was written on bass, so I was given a bass line, and I was like, well, I could play the chords that go with that bass line, but it just sounds very anemic. And so I started playing around with the arrangement, and that's what we come up with, this interesting thing.
I'm most excited to see what the reaction is to this EP. So, as I said, we progressed, and I think these songs are much more mature and polished than our first EP, and I really want to hear people's reactions.
Ships of Dreams and Nightmares went through an intense amount of revision, and I think it was because the original concept, when I had heard the part, it was just bass and vocal, and I was kind of like, well, this should be like a funeral march or a dirge, and I had these bells on the recording that were just enormous on the demo, and it was the heaviest song we'd ever written. And then I put it together, and I showed it to Tony, and Tony says, well, I wanted it to be not a dirge, I wanted it to be in celebration of. And so we went back and forth, even through the rehearsal process, where I was retooling the guitar part and just sort of evolving it. And so by the time the song gets tracked in its form that's on the EP, it had become a totally different thing. I want to see this music, have a life of its own, take on its own persona for the people to listen to it.
Are these songs going to affect people's lives? Are they going to provide entertainment? Are they an escape from reality?
They fit well in terms of the needs that we have for different genres of music and the adventure of taking risk. Because this is what I notice in the industry right now. The majority of people don't take risks anymore. It's all about repeating what other artists do.